So by now you should have the Pong title on the intro screen and the click here text onto the screen, right? Click here to start. But now we need to make it blinking, right? So how do we get it to blink? Well, you could see here that what I did is here is the code that I have for the Pong text, and here's the code that I have for the click here text. And then all I needed to do is to go into my intro loop and also blit my click text. So then if I run that, then what I have is this. Right? Please ignore the blinking. It's must be, I'm not sure exactly what's causing that, but it must be some kind of an error in one of the functions that are blitting it to the screen. As you could see here, there's like a warning on my machine, but there is no warning on your machine. So don't worry about it. But if you look, you could see what's the problem. The problem is that the Pong text surface is being blitted on top. I'm sorry, the click here is being blitted on top of the Pong. Right? We don't want that. So how do we fix that? Well, remember the Pong text is being blitted to this rect position, and the click here text is being blitted to this rect position. Right? So we centered the X. Good, great, perfect. But we also want to adjust the rect's Y. Right? So we say click underscore rect dot Y is going to be equal to click underscore, oh, I don't know, maybe we could set it to the based on win height. Right? So win underscore height, and we'll make a fraction of that. So maybe divided by 2. I don't know, we could try that. And let's run that. So what is that going to do? That's going to set the Y position of the clicked rect equal to half of the screen, so that when we blit to the screen, it's going to blit the clicked to the halfway point. So if we do that, you can see that goes on, right? And then you can use that same technique to get the Pong text a little bit lower. Just get everything positioned perfectly. Right? And a good practice is to make your positional information a function of the height and width of the screen, so that if anyone comes back to your code, or maybe you come back to your code and you say, hey, no, I want my screen to be bigger, then if you change the window height and window width, then nothing changes in your program, right? Nothing is different. So yeah, you should make everything a function of height and width of the screen. So what are we doing here? Okay, so we got them positioned. Now we are going to blink the text. So the way the blinking works is that we are going to blit the click, but not all the time. Right now we're blitting the click and the title all the time. But when we make this guy blink, it's going to blit the click half of the time, right? And it's going to blit the Pong all the time. So how do we do that? Well, we add an if statement in here, right? We say if it's half the time, blit this click. If it's not half the time, don't blit that click. And so if we come in here, we can go ahead and copy this code. Well, all we need here is the beg time. So we're going to put that right up here outside of the intro loop. And we are going to need this if statement. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to replace this with that. And so here, click underscore rect, I think is what I called it. All right. So then what is this doing? Well, this is checking this condition. And if it's true, then blit the click. If it's not true, we're not blitting the click. All we're going to blit is clear the screen with white and blit the title Pong. So what is up with this condition? This condition takes beg time. Beg time is not like beg, oh please give me the time. What it signifies is beginning time, right? The beginning time. So a call to pygametime.getTicks gives you the number, like the time in seconds, I think it is, right? So it gives you like a long number, like an 8-digit number. And then inside of our while loop, so this is kind of like our anchor time, right? So if we run it and it's 11 o'clock, this guy's going to be set to 11 o'clock on the dot, flat, right? And then it's going to drop into the while loop. And then the while loop is going to set current time equal to pygame.getTicks. So current time is going to be equal to 11 flat 0.001 seconds. right? Essentially, that's what's going to happen here. So then it's going to come into this if statement, and if cur time, which is bigger than beg time, mod 1000, because we cur time and beg time are in milliseconds, we want to mod by 1000. That means like basically give us what the difference is here in units that are less than a second. If that's less than 500, which is half a second, then blit the click text onto the screen. So for instance, if the cur time is 11 o'clock 00.32, right? So like 0.2 of a full second, then that means that this equation here is going to be equal to 200, right? 200 milliseconds. And 200 is less than 500. So since it's less than 500, it's going to blit the click here onto the screen. And then I come back up into the while loop. It's going to run cur time again. And now cur time is going to be equal to 0.4, right? Which is 400 milliseconds. So, which means, I'm sorry, that this equation here is going to be evaluated to 400 milliseconds, or 400. And 400 is less than 500. So it's going to continue blitting the click here onto the screen. I come back up and in, and now it's 11.6, right? And that is 600, right? So then 11.6, so then 11.6 minus 11 is equal to 600, and then 600 mod 1000 is 600, and 600 is not less than 500, so it will not blit the click onto the screen. And then we keep going, and it's going to be 11.8 is equal to 800, and that's not true, right? And then it's not going to blit to the screen. And then what about we get to 1101.1, right? Then what is that? That's 1100. Right? So then this here is going to evaluate to 1100 because we have 1101.1 minus 11. Right, so then that gives us 1,100 milliseconds. We mod that by 1,000, so that gives us we divide 1,100 by 1,000, and we just return the remainder. So the remainder is 100, and we check if 100 is less than 500, and it is. It's true. So we're clicking. So this is like right here is click, right here is click, right here is no click. Right here is no click, and then we click again. So effectively what is happening is that we're printing click on the first half second, we're not printing click on the second half second, and then we're printing click on the following half second infinitely. So what should we see when we add this code is we should see the click here blinking on the screen. So let's go ahead and run it. So you could see it's there, it's not there, it's there, it's not there, it's there, it's not there. It's a little bit unclear because of the flashing, but I think that I think it'll be clear when you add the code to your own program and you see that it works. Right? So good luck with that.